just take some questions today.
All right.
Yeah.
Trevor, I promise you did lead off today, so there you go.
I guess just first of all, I mean, big confidence boosting win, right? First over Power 5 team, top 10 team. Just how has the team been feeling with that, dealing with that win in the past couple of days since that happened?
I think well. I haven't seen them. I mean, we went our separate ways. Yesterday was a day off, and so we're excited to get back together today. You know, I can tell you how I'm feeling. I'm feeling great. I think, you know, I would assume for everyone, it's, you know, been a grind. So many new people, injuries before the year, still not having Tamia yet. You know, playing people out of position, rotations. It just has felt like this, you know, constant adjustment as we're going, figuring out who we are. Fortunate to have played a tough schedule, you know, to move ourselves forward and really, you know, have some realistic views into who we are before we get to Pac-12 play. The Oregon game was encouraging. SC the other night was discouraging. You know, we had some great moments in it, but we made so many mistakes, and many because of their defense and the way they forced us into those turnovers and mistakes. An incredible performance by Marshall, you know, to put up 33 on us. And then to regroup, come back, and play, you know, a top 10 team, a very talented team in UCLA, and all those lessons, you could just tell the layers have just added up, and we're gaining that experience necessary to be able to compete for 40 minutes and close out a really good team. And that was the one thing we hadn't done yet. You know, so I would assume for everyone it's just a huge boost in confidence, you know, and it just feels good.
What do you think was the biggest difference between those two games? Was it taking that USC loss to heart? Was it the difference in preparation? What do you think kind of finally clicked for your team on Sunday?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it was completely different. You know, it was like a different team. It was one team wondering, hoping. It was another team determined just to get it done. And I think it was just, I mean, that, if I could say anything, that's how it appeared to me too. You know, I think Bendu's leadership really emerged on Sunday. You know, her determination was, I mean, maybe the key factor. You know, her voice was louder than it had been, and it's normal. I mean, she's now taking ownership over her role on this team now that she knows her role on this team. You know, I think we were more accurate in our execution. We stayed out of trouble. We kept it a little more simple overall as a group. Slightly shorter rotation from a substitution. I just wanted to roll with the most experienced group, you know, and I think one of the coolest stories that nobody's talking about from Sunday's game was Noelle Manning. I mean, what she did, I mean, you think about it, this is a walk-on, you know, that University of San Francisco didn't want her freshman year. She went down there to walk on, and they decided they didn't want her, and so she's looking for a home, and we're like, well, we could use a walk-on, you know, and then here she is 4 years later, you know, starting playing 36 minutes against a top 10 team and finding a way to win. And, you know, her toughness was so key to that game. You know, so I think it's just this culmination of so many things just all finally hitting. And I've been telling the team, I go, it's going to click. It just is. There's too much talent in this room. You're too good of people. The character's high on this team, and we're working really hard. You know, I believe in our staff. I believe in them. I go, it's just a matter of time, you know, and fortunately, it hit Sunday.
Speaking of clicking at the right time, you're going to now play Arizona, one of the most probably respected teams in this conference, but along with Stanford. Really just, I guess, first preliminary thoughts on what you've seen on tape from the Wildcats.
Similar. You know, they're just tough. I mean, when I think of them, that's what I think. I just think of tough, competitive, gritty, defensive team. This team shoots the ball a little bit better than the Arizona teams over the years. You know, they might not be forcing as many turnovers, but they're good. They're certainly capable. So I just see a gritty, tough Arizona team that, you know, with great point guard play, a great post game, with shooters on the perimeter, which equals a great basketball team. You know, so toughness is, yeah, you just know when you're going into the desert, both of those gyms, you have to be as tough as you've ever been. That's just, you just count on it. That's the requirement. The prereq for success down there is just toughness, and that's a credit to them.
I know you've been here a while. January now, I didn't mean that in a negative way. I just meant like
Nah,
you're here in January, a couple months
Yeah.
in this particular team. Where do you like where your team's at right now as you enter the new year and you get kind of ready for the nitty-gritty part of the season?
Yeah, well, any group that's this new together, it just takes a while, and you hope they stick with it through the growing pains. And that's what I like about the group, is that we are. Our practices are excellent. They came in with every day, they come in with a great attitude, a great mindset, great energy, day after day, and that equals success, ultimately. And so now, roles are being more and more defined through experience. You could say, okay, you're a captain, the team can vote. All that stuff, it doesn't matter. It's what happens in competition and who emerges and what roles emerge when you're on the court in the biggest games. And that's what's happening for this group right now, is that those roles are emerging. We know, we're hopeful that Tamia's coming before too long. That's one more great player to add to the mix. And everybody's just taking steps forward. So I like where we are. I like who we are. I like what our potential is. And I think we have some, we're here, and we still have to get to. And, the language that we speak is just becoming second nature now, to where we're just on the same page way more often.
With the emergence of Reagan,
Yeah.
we're seeing more possessions where she's clearly the focus of the offense, and maybe Talia, who's kind of been the focus of the offense, maybe doesn't get touches a couple of possessions in a row. Is this changing? How does Talia adjust to that? How do you help her adjust to that? Which is, it's good for the team to have another scorer emerge, but it does kind of change how much he's touching the ball, sometimes the ways in which he's touching the ball, and has to adapt to that.
Yeah. I've never been the coach that's on one person team. I don't believe in that. I don't philosophically. You go to your money for sure, especially when it matters, and you need to get touches by your best players, no doubt. But the best teams, you don't know where it's coming from. The other night, Lex hitting 4 threes. That's a huge part of what we do. We've always had an inside presence, and we've always had perimeter players. And when we've been at our best, it's been 4 at a time on the outside, with somebody that's unguardable on the inside. That's a great team. That's the makeup of every great team. If you have, a couple of spots out there that are not threats, it's going to be hard to beat the best teams. So if you think about our very best, most experienced teams ever, that's exact makeup of what we've had, and that's the unguardable group, where the opposing coach will say, I don't know what to do because they don't have a weakness, and that's what I want to get to, for sure, and so Ray, her emergence inside has been amazing to watch. At this point in her career, it's been fun to watch the team figure out how to get her the ball better, how her timing's a little bit better, it's a little just more efficient. It takes pressure off the perimeter, and when it's the Talia show, man, that's a heavy load for anyone to carry. It's a heavy, I don't want that for her. We need threats everywhere, and so I think it's just natural. I think there's times you go out there's times you go in there and you mix it up and you try to just be unguardable, and this team's working towards that.
When UCLA nudged ahead on Sunday afternoon, what do you think kept the team from having the feeling that a couple of games that you got away from them earlier this season, that this game was going to be different? Because your team answered right away, took the lead right back, and never gave it back on Sunday.
Yeah, you're right. That has been the moment too, where the Iowa game, the Duke game, the Oregon game, exactly like that. Where it was tied, we were ahead, we were down but close, and then it got away from us because we didn't know how to finish, and that was the progress. I think Bendu was a big part of it. I think her toughness and her determination offensively to get to the rim and make things happen. I can't remember the exact progression of who responded right then, but that's what I remember. And so I think it was just a collective effort from everyone. Stick with it. We need to get the stops on the defensive end, and we need to score, and it's really that simple, and I just think we executed. You know, we stuck with our zone down the stretch. While they hit a couple threes against it, I knew that there were a couple mistakes we were going to fix. It was just as we were transitioning into it, and so I was confident in that. And then the team just made plays. It was awesome, winning time.
You said you saw Bendu emerge kind of as a leader on Sunday. What was she doing in the huddle, on the bench, to kind of make you think that? What did you see?
Well, I heard her voice, you know, just a little bit more, and I heard her energy just a little bit more, and that was great. I mean, this is somebody that's played in the very biggest games on the very biggest stage, and has had so much success through her career. You know, now I just felt more ownership. You know, just more like, hey, we are here to win, and we're going to get this done. And you know, she has a big voice, and she's a big personality. You know, so I just felt that there was a different level of confidence coming from her. You know, and I think. That was evident in the way that she was playing as well. I mean, she was extremely aggressive, I thought, you know, in the game. And I saw her actions backed up her words, you know, and I think that gave people a lot of confidence.
During the USC game, just watching you, you know, even as things are going wrong, didn't see a ton of anger from you or explosiveness. Is that you kind of waiting for leaders to emerge on the team? Is that the way you'd rather kind of have it go?
That's a good question. I think there's a time for everything, you know. I think, you know, a angry response is certainly not always the right answer. You know, in that game, we were learning some things. We had some new people out there. You know, we were making mistakes, but can't say that I was surprised by them. Some things you just have to experience and endure. You know, and I know progress was happening, and these are each lessons that we're going to learn from. You know, yeah. So I think there's just a time for everything, and I try to be whatever the team needs.
I think you guys are 8-1 maybe at home. Can you just talk about how, I mean, obviously the home court advantage, how important that is for you guys, especially in a game like Sunday where, you know, it gets really close. Just how important is it to have this crowd come here and support you guys every single time you take the field?
Well, I mean, that's my favorite subject right there is talking about, you know, Gill Coliseum and Beaver Nation. And we've worked hard at that relationship since day one. And I think, you know, this weekend it was fun to have a couple people here for the first time and say, do you guys stay on the court after every game? I'm like, yep, 8-minute mingle, you know, and we stay out there when we can. And, you know, there is this relationship where there's such a tight bond between our fan base and our players. I mean, they love this team, and you can sense it and feel it. It's almost like the numbers of people don't matter. It's the way that they operate and the way they behave and how they cheer. And against USC, you know, we made that run back at them in the fourth quarter the other night. And even though we're behind, I mean, it got so loud in there cheering this team on. And, of course, they answered, unfortunately, to quiet the crowd. Credit to them. You know, but then that was there all day Sunday. And so for this team to know that they have that behind them certainly is a lift. You know, it's really special to be a part of. I think in some ways it works against us sometimes because it's so unique. I think it gets the best out of our opponents, too, because they know they're playing in front of a very special venue, situation, environment that's uncommon, you know, and so, yeah. It was nice to be reminded of all that this weekend. All right. Thanks, you guys.
What do you think when Connie did that, like, 28